What's up, guys? How we doing? How we doing? We are about to get an 8-inch snowstorm. This snowstorm went from being 1 to 3 inches to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 to now we're at 8. We got a winter storm warning instead of a winter weather advisory, and that's rare for us. So, yeah, we're gonna be stuck in the house for a minute, and I watched The Substance, and not a lot of movies have caught my attention this year, but The Substance is one of them. No, she did not watch it with me. This is one where I finally put my foot down and was like, no, you're not watching this. So the director of it is, I just had her name. I forgot her name. She directed Revenge, which is a I Spit on Your Grave like movie. It's a movie where a woman basically gets, sexually assaulted and then killed and gets her revenge, right? And I think the I Spit on Your Grave remake and movies like these are. I love revenge movies, but God, the I Spit on Your Grave remake, if you can make it through that first hour, it's. Anyway, she made Revenge, which is a pretty good movie. And now came out with The Substance, and everybody's been talking about it all year, and I've been interested in it. And Demi Moore, she's classic, and so I gave the film a try. And holy crap, it was a phenomenal movie. It was really okay. So I guess the way I'll structure this video, because this will probably be one of the longest movie reviews I ever do, because there's so much to talk about. I'll give my positives, and I'll give my negatives, and then I'll give my overall rating. The acting in this movie, phenomenal. Demi Moore, still got it. And you still fine as hell, honey. I know that she is probably, 100% dealt with what's going on in this movie. What this movie is about, aging out. I know Demi Moore has probably had issues with that in Hollywood. So I feel like this was probably like a personal, read this script and was like, hell yeah. I want to tell this story. And it's just a story about this, medication called The Substance that it creates a clone of you, a younger, better you. And every 7 days, you gotta switch consciousness back into your original body. And younger Demi Moore starts to break the rules of that and borrow time, which directly affects Demi Moore. And yeah, this is going to be a spoiler review. If you're here, I'm assuming you've watched it, so I'm not going to shy away from spoilers. So positives, the acting is incredible in this movie. The writing is incredible in this movie. Dennis Quaid does an amazing, creepy job in this movie. I haven't seen him as a bad guy too many times, and he does phenomenal in here. The way things are shot, to make you feel uncomfortable. Very, just the beginning where Dennis Quaid is eating shrimp and it's focused on him dipping it and, shoving it in his mouth and being so, disgusting about it. This movie does a very good job at making you feel uncomfortable. And that's what it's supposed to do. And there's a lot of nudity in it, a lot of close-ups of ass. And I actually think it's a good thing they chose to put that in here. I know the straight white guy doesn't have a problem with seeing ass on screen, right? But as a director's choice, when you're trying to drive home that point of women being sexualized in Hollywood and that you age out, basically, and they always, they tell you that you're irreplaceable and beautiful, and then you hit your 40s and now fuck you. You kick the curve. We need someone younger, hotter, better. By showing, the younger girl's butt all the time and all the nudity, I think you're driving that point home. And, just the guys that will watch this will probably be distracted from the story just by how much nudity is in it, just kind of proving the point that we just look at women as like, what the movie has to say is awesome. It is about Hollywood and its shitty standards on women and how the old pig's controlling it. Like, Bruce Willis made Die Hard movies into his 60s, right? Women aren't usually the leading roles in movies. So they're usually just cast as the wife or something like that. You know, so since they're not getting leading roles, once they hit a certain age, you are no longer casted. You are no longer looked at. So I love that we got an opportunity here for a woman to lead a role, and Demi Moore was the perfect choice for this. And the acting was great, and the body horror was fucking insane. It takes a lot to get me reeled in on a movie anymore, and this one sucked me in, man. I felt genuinely bad for her, and I just feel bad for women as a whole. It's gotta be hard, you know, to be a woman in today's world. And I think the most sad, it's such an emotional movie because this woman hates herself so much and is so insecure because of how the world has made her feel that she's supposed to be, and now knowing that she's getting replaced, and that she won't even go on this date with this guy that's obsessed with her, which to me is the saddest scene in the movie. Like, she bumps into this guy, you know, that she went to school with, and whenever she goes to young Demi Moore and then comes back to her regular self, and she has like a deformation on her hand, and she's starting to kind of appreciate being her, she calls the guy up because he's obsessed with her, you know, thinks she's beautiful just the way she is. And she keeps going to the bathroom, redoing her makeup, has her little bit of cleavage out, and then hides it. And it's like, come on, what are you doing, Demi? Demi, you got better tits than the younger girl. Like, come on, man. Like, and her insecurities, she keeps looking at the younger version of herself, and she talks herself out of going on this date with this dude, and it's so sad. Like, it's so sad. This movie is a very sad movie, and I know there's gonna be a lot of red-pilled fucking sexism doesn't exist bullshit that are gonna probably watch this and not care for it for that reason, but what this movie is trying to say, I think it accomplishes. And the whole, so spoilers ahead, you know, you don't want to hear about the ending, click off now. When it becomes apparent that young Demi Moore is going to just say, fuck you, I'm going to start stealing your time, but then she's about to die, and the only way for her to survive is to go back to Demi Moore, and now Demi Moore is this scary looking creature. That was insane. The body horror in this movie is insane. It is insanely well done. The prosthetics, whoa. Like, it is a horrifying movie. And, it's just so well written, so well, the symbolism in this movie, dude. It's not just about women aging out, it's just about aging in general, and like just not feeling beautiful anymore, and not feeling like valued, that you at this point at 60 still have value, you know, like, and it just has such an emotional message. And then you get to where we're with Demi Moore, and now she's this hunchback, bald thing because, like, you know, she got all of her time taken from her from the other girl, and this is where the movie starts to go downhill for me. she decides that she's going to kill her younger self. And she does. And then changes her mind, which I don't know why you would ever do at this point. Like, I guess if you gotta live as this beast from now on, what's the fucking point in going on, right? You might as well bring her back, but then why kill her in the first place? But that just kind of shows you how she just cannot be content with being herself, and like, even knowing that she's probably going to die if she hands herself over to this younger version of herself one more time, still does it. And that's where I got to the point in the movie where I was like, what would happen if Demi Moore didn't change back? Like, the girl keeps borrowing time from her. What would happen if Demi decided, nah, I ain't going to change back to you? And I thought they were going to go that route, but they didn't. So Demi Moore liked being young enough that she was always willing to trust the younger version of herself. No matter how mad she got, she still craved that. And then this is where I get confused about the consciousness of the two. So I assumed that you're creating a younger version of yourself that you're consciously with, right? If I create a younger version of me because I want to experience being young again, what's the point in doing that if I'm not mentally, consciously there to enjoy it? And when I was watching the movie at first, that's what I thought it was. I thought old Demi Moore's consciousness moved to this young Demi Moore. And maybe it is. Maybe that is what happens, but it doesn't seem like it. It seems like you created a whole nother person. Because if this was Demi Moore's consciousness in this younger body, she would know that she's fucking over her older self and gonna kill herself. Well, maybe. Okay, so that makes sense. That checks out. Never mind. I won't overthink the consciousness thing. However, I think the last 10 minutes kicks this from being a 9 to a 7. And I'll tell you why. When Demi Moore goes to kill the younger version of herself and then decides to wake her up just by transfusing by giving her blood, they're both awake. This doesn't make sense. How are they both awake at the same time? If you're implying that they're both awake, then what that means is they could have been both awake the whole time. So that writing kind of starts to go downhill from here. Second of all, young Demi Moore, why would you kill older Demi Moore knowing good and damn well you're going to die now, you know? So, like, it doesn't make sense to me that they were both awake. It doesn't make sense to me that younger Demi Moore killed older Demi Moore knowing that that's who your host is. And then she starts to fall apart, right? Teeth are coming out, shit like that. And I think it would have been a more satisfying ending to just have the younger version of her fall apart. Now, I do love the twist and the stretching of, okay, she's going to go home, she's going to use the activator again and give spawn to another thing, and you're expecting another pretty woman to come out, and then it shows that glimpse in the mirror, dude, and you're like, oh my fucking God, what did you do? And then now it is both of them combined into this creature thing, that has a face, and Demi Moore's face is back here, and there's an arm poking out, and there's like, holy shit. Amazing. But to get there, the writing doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I don't understand why she killed older Demi Moore. But whatever. Let's look over that. When the monster Elise Sue, I think it was called Monster Elise Sue, is introduced, that's where you should have ended the movie. Whenever you put the picture of Demi Moore's face up to her, and she realizes she should have just been herself all along. Credits. And it would have had such an emotional gut punch of an ending in that moment. Like, realizes she should have been herself and then dies or whatever. That's where the movie should have ended. But instead, it drags out for another 10 minutes, and that 10 minutes to me knocks it down a couple letter grades because the writing falls apart. First of all, you left the host that spawned this monster at the house with no food, which would mean she's dead, which would mean you wouldn't be alive, right? That's what the movie said, so the monster would be dead. It would die like right away. That's why I'm saying it would have made more logistical sense to just end it there. But instead, she still goes to this New Year's thing. I get why this scene happens. It's so she can get on stage and be told by the very people that once told her she was beautiful and irreplaceable that she's a fucking monster. Be it that she's hideous. I get the symbolism behind this scene, but I just feel like you already drove that point home so many times in the film that now we're at the point in the movie where you're just getting shock value in there and you're sacrificing emotion for this shock value. If you would have shown the new monster beast, Monster Elise Sue, and like I said, she puts the picture of Demi Moore's face on her and ended it right there, I think you have a 9 out of 10 movie. But the last 10 minutes, she goes, somehow survives, goes to this building, somehow sneaks into the building, gets by these people, I don't get how, by the security guard, gets on stage, and then she's revealed to be this monster. I don't think the crowd would have reacted by seeing this disfigured human by getting up there and beating the shit out of her. I get what the scene says, but I don't think people would have seen this creature and then just, yeah, I'm gonna kill you. We're all gonna kill you. So, the writing just falls apart. And then they kill her. But then she regrows into this other creature. And, then her arm breaks off and starts shooting blood into the crowd. And there isn't that much blood in the human body. Sorry. It reminded me of the Jason Johnny Depp scene. Even as a kid, I watched that and was like, where's all that blood coming from? Because it isn't from Johnny Depp. That doesn't make any sense. And so she just shoots blood for a solid minute out of her arm. So, and then she leaves the studio. She falls. The whole beast comes apart. She basically just becomes this head crawling to her star and then dies on her star. You dragged it out too long, man. Yes, this was a horrific scene. It was a well-done scene. I loved it. You got blood and metal. What more could you want? They literally had metal playing at one point when she's... I love that. I mean, fucking A. I like the scene itself. But what I'm saying is if you remove that scene and Sue, when she interjects herself with the activator serum and gives birth to this creature, that shock right there, and then putting Demi Moore's face on her, end credit right there, this movie would have had a more emotional gut punch, and I think you sacrificed that to give us 10 more minutes of shock. And while I am, I do love me some blood and guts, and it was an entertaining 10 minutes. I just think you dragged it out, and that took me out of the movie, and by the time it ended, it didn't emotionally impact me as much as it could have. So, it knocked it down a whole letter grade for me. I'm debating even too, because the writing didn't make sense to me to get there. I don't understand how they were both conscious at the same time. I don't understand why younger Demi Moore would kill older Demi Moore, knowing good and damn well you're gonna die now. If they would have chose to end it with younger Demi Moore just slowly falling apart, I would have been okay with that as an ending too. But I love that they went the monster route, and she gave birth to this monster, and then just wanted to be herself. end it there, man. But to drag it out that 10 more minutes, I really think impacted this film a lot. I don't know how people are going to feel about my opinion on that. But I just think as far as emotionally, this was such an emotional movie. You really feel for Demi Moore's character. And now she's dead and the younger version of her is alive. But whenever this beast is born, they're both in there. And it looks like when she puts the picture of Demi Moore's face to her and just realizes now I was beautiful the way I really originally was. If you end the movie right there, dude, 9 out of 10 movie. It would have hit harder. It would have been emotional. You still would have gotten to show the beast and the deformities and the shock, and you would have ended on shock. But I just think the last 10 minutes of it were unnecessary. I don't see how the beast lived because you left the host at home with no food. The crowd reacting in such a hostile way didn't make a lot of sense, but I get the symbolism that they were trying to go there. Being called a monster by the very people that used to call you irreplaceable and beautiful. I get that, but you've already driven that point home. And then, yeah, just the blood not making any sense, and then she falls, and then that last 10 minutes took me out of it emotionally, man. But I will say, even with the last 10 minutes, this is an incredible movie. I don't think it's going to be a movie that you're going to watch a bunch. First of all, it's horrifying. Second of all, it's very sad. It's very sad. I mean, come on, man. It's so uncomfortably true. Like the scene where Dennis Quaid is surrounded by all the older dudes, and he says, "What was the line? Everybody likes a pretty girl's smile," or something like that. Dude, I mean, come on. Just such perfect writing. How many times have you seen an old man tell a girl that she'd look prettier if she smiled or whatever? Like, the quotes in this movie are so good and so true. That is how Hollywood treats women. Like, the objectification, you're not good enough anymore, that holy shit, you're young, beautiful, hot, and fuckable. Let's get you on TV now. And then 20 years later, that same girl that made them so much money and was irreplaceable is now replaceable and you now don't care about. That's true. That's how Hollywood goes. And I love that they got Demi Moore for this. I think she gave the performance of a lifetime. She has nothing to prove here, and she does an amazing fucking job. I mean, she's been an icon for how long, and she comes out and kills it with this movie. She does an amazing job in this movie, guys. Like, her and Dennis Quaid. The younger actress does pretty good, too. But the younger actress isn't really given a lot of the emotional baggage that older Demi Moore is. So I think Demi Moore's acting is definitely overshining hers. But goddamn, dude, I had to sleep on it. I was gonna give my review last night, and I had to sleep on it because I was actually really pissed off at the ending because I was with it. I was like, damn, this is like when I saw the beast in the mirror, I was like, this is gonna be a 9 out of 10 movie. Holy fuck! But I thought it was gonna end there, and then it just kept going, and then the writing didn't make a lot of sense from there. The writing didn't make a lot of sense that they were both consciously awake. Like, I feel like they had to cheat to get to that moment. Because if they're both awake at the same time, you're implying that they both could have been awake the entire time. Right? Like, how does that make any sense that they're both awake now? And then how does it make any sense that she was able to live as long as she did with Demi Moore being dead? And how does it make any sense that she gave birth to this creature and now this creature is able to survive even though there's no food for the host? Like, the movie was very clear on its instructions of keeping each other self alive. And for the beast, like, it just keeps reproducing anyway. So I guess since you use the activator twice, it just continues to divide the genes, right? Like instead of 2 people, now you have 4, right? Anyway, I'm gonna give this movie a 7 out of 10. Had you have ended with the emotional gut punch of the Beast putting Demi Moore's face on the piece of paper and her crying and then dying right there, that to me would have been 9 out of 10. I'll never give a movie a 10 out of 10 ever, because no movie is perfect. But yeah, that last 10 minutes just drug it out a little too long and made me not as emotionally invested, because you know she's gonna die. As soon as the Beast is born, you're like, okay, like this ain't gonna have a happy ending. Like, you know that, you know it's coming, and I just wish they would have ended it 10 minutes earlier. I get why they showed the last 10 minutes. I get how symbolic the last 10 minutes are, but I just don't think you would have. Some might disagree. Some might think that is more of an emotional ending because of the last 10 minutes. I don't. I think there's a lot of writing loopholes, and the moment that she puts Demi Moore's face and realizes that she was beautiful all along should have been the end of the movie. You got to see the horrifying creature and this body horror, and that should have been the end of the movie. She should have started crying or something and then fell to her death, and then that be the end of the movie. I would have been way more happy with that than the last 10 minutes that we got. But that being said, I do recommend you check it out. If you're a horror movie fan, I do not think you'll be disappointed. It is a good movie. It is a very good movie. I just wish, like I said, that they would have ended it 10 minutes earlier, because it's just such a sad one. It really is. And that's why I'm saying they should have ended it when they did. Because this movie is so sad that it would have had more of an emotional impact if they ended it when I'm saying they should have. Like, it just would have had a more of an emotional gut punch. And then the last 10 minutes happens, and then you're kind of taken out of it, and then she dies, and then it's like, yeah, it emotionally hurts, but it doesn't emotionally hit as hard as it would have after revealing the shock of the Beast and that she just should have been herself the whole time. And that date scene, man, I damn near cried. Like, I'm not that emotional when it comes to movies, but to watch her continue to look at her younger self and feel like she's not as good as, even though she's beautiful and she's got a guy that's obsessed with her and then convinces herself to not go on this date. Like, it's heartbreaking because it's so real. It's so true, you know, like, and unfortunately, I think it's going to fall on deaf ears. Like, women are treated like dirt by men. It's no secret. But, you know, whenever you got 4 million on OnlyFans and counting, whenever you got, I don't know. We're entering a time where women are sexualized more now than ever. And I only think it's going to get worse because of the people I made fun of yesterday, because of the OnlyFans models out there, because Hollywood standards aren't ever going to change. I just think it's going to get worse. So it's a very emotional movie that tells a very true, uncomfortable truth that you don't want to look at, that I don't think is ever going to be solved. Anyway, that's my review of this movie. It was a crazy one. I suggest you check it out. It gets a 7 out. I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. How about that? Which I know sounds like a bad grade. It sounds like a C average, but to me, an average movie is a 5. So a 7.5 for me is good. If it ended where I said it should have, you would be getting a 9 out of 10 for me. Perfectly done. I'm willing to overlook the fact that they were both consciously awake, whatever, that she killed older Demi Moore. But the last 10 minutes existed purely for shock factor and made the movie end on a less emotional gut punch. And I'm all for shock factor, but if it directly impacts the emotion of the story and takes you out of it, then it shouldn't have been in there. I like that they included the Beast. I love it. I end it with Demi Moore, like her staring herself in the mirror with that picture on her face, crying, and then falls over and dies. Beautiful ending. I mean, that would have been it right there. But nope, we gotta make it bloody as hell and drive the point home that these people are now calling her a monster when they once called her irreplaceable, and now somehow she's bleeding so much, and now somehow she, like, I get why she keeps dividing and reproducing, because now, you know, it's not ×2 anymore, it's like ×4 or whatever, so you got multiple different things. I get this, but I just can't help but think that if the last 10 minutes didn't exist, this movie would be a lot better. That's just my personal opinion. Very good movie. Very good movie. Demi Moore, you still got it. Fucking awesome actress. Dennis Quaid, amazing job. The younger version, amazing job. And the director, more like the director. God, what is her name? What is her name? There's no way I'm not going to butcher this. Coralie Farget. That's, or Fargo. Fargiat. She's 2 for 2. Revenge was a good movie. And it also explored the problems of women. So, like, I love what her movies have to say. And she's 2 for 2. And she is now definitely a director that if she's coming out with a movie, I'll be checking it out. But tell me what you guys thought of it. Do you agree with me that the last 10 minutes kind of fucked up the emotional gut punch that this movie could have had? Like, it still ends on an emotional note. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, it's still emotional. But I just feel like if you take out the stage scene, she, like I said, the monster's born. She looks herself in the mirror and realizes this monster. You get to see all the grotesque imagery. She puts the face up to her. Credits. If it would have ended right there, I think this is a 9 out of 10. But the last 10 minutes pissed me off. Like, because it just took me emotionally out of it. And they do a good job of portraying how men treat women. Like, with the guy that's yelling about her making noise, and then she answers, and he's like, oh, never mind. I could be a handyman. See, I looked at that scene, and I was like, nah, I'm still yelling at her. Like, shut the fuck up, stop doing construction at 4 a.m. But that's where I'm different from other men, I suppose, is, I don't know. I don't give women a free pass because they're pretty. But when men do, men suck. I'm sorry. Like, it's just a lot can't turn down Punani, and this movie is a really sad story, and it's extremely well told. And there you go. That's my review.